Attack of the Clones.
Attack of the Clones was the second of the prequels. It came out May 16th, 2002.
This is my least favorite Star Wars movie.
Out of all of them?
Out of all of them.
Out of all of them, okay.
Out of all of them, this one is my least favorite.
Really? Okay.
It's because it has one good scene at the beginning, and then it's incredibly slow until, like, the very end.
I actually, now, it's not my least favorite. I actually have trouble deciding whether I like Phantom Menace more than this one. Because in some ways, for me, Phantom Menace does things better than Attack of the Clones. For one thing, I think the plot is more focused. But at the same time, Attack of the Clones has more action in it. It has more action in it, but also the dialogue's worse.
The dialogue is
especially
horrible in this movie.
Especially during the romantic
The romance scenes are some of the worst scenes I've ever seen.
Okay, so I think I mentioned earlier, this was actually the first of the Star Wars prequels I saw. This was the first. And as a kid, it was actually one of my favorite movies, believe it or not. If not just for the gladiator stuff at the end.
Okay, the gladiator stuff is awesome.
I don't think it's that bad, honestly. I don't think it's that bad.
I do not like this movie.
It is kind of a guilty pleasure for me, because it's ridiculous, it's over the top, but I actually kind of enjoy it. It is a bit too long, though.
I like the gladiator scene, I like the Dooku fight, and I like when they're chasing down the bounty hunter.
Okay. When I first saw this, they used to have this at the library, and I would always, like, check it out, because I wanted to, watch it, because it was a Star Wars film, so... And then eventually, I'd seen it so many times that my parents decided to just actually buy it.
Yeah, at that point, it's more worth it.
From the library, This actually might be my favorite Ewan McGregor performance of the series, believe it or not.
I still think I prefer him in Revenge of the Sith.
Because this one, he gets a lot more to do in this one than he did in Phantom Menace. And I like this... I like that he's sort of like a detective in this one. He's like
that was interesting.
He's searching for this planet that's kind of disappeared. I like the part where he meets with Dexter and he's just talking to him like he's an old friend,
That's one of them Camino cloner.
Camino saber darts. It's just, it's such a bizarre
He's such a weird
scene.
character.
It's such a bizarre scene and character, though, but I really enjoy it.
And then there's the robot waitress in the background the whole time.
It's like a 50s diner. It feels very out of place in the Star Wars film. But I enjoy it. But I do genuinely enjoy Ewan McGregor in this film. He gets a lot to do.
I think he's the best character.
He gets so much to do in this film. He's like searching for like this lost planet. I like the scene where he's with Yoda and he's projecting the planets.
Oh yeah, with the younglings.
With the younglings, and Yoda like says, "Lost a planet Obi-Wan has. How embarrassing!" And he's just going, just telling him to go to where the coordinates were anyway.
Yeah.
Instead of just like, But yeah, and I really love this scene where he meets Dooku, and he's talking to him. And Dooku's an interesting character because he's not really a full Sith.
Not really.
He started off as a Jedi, but then kind of had a falling out after Qui-Gon died. And I really like how he's like talking about like Qui-Gon is saying, "I wish he was here to give me some advice," And then Obi-Wan says Qui-Gon would never join you, but then Count Dooku's like saying like, "How could you be so sure of that?" And I'm thinking, you know what? He's kind of right because Qui-Gon was very rebellious in that first film. You don't know what his decision would be.
I would have loved to see more of Count Dooku and
and Christopher Lee is fantastic.
Oh, he is amazing.
He can elevate almost any film, One of the worst James Bond films, The Man with the Golden Gun, and his performance in that is fantastic.
It is.
He's actually one of my favorite James Bond villains, even though that movie sucks. He's great in this film, And you can tell he's very powerful.
Yeah.
He manages to defeat both Anakin and Obi-Wan very easily.
And then
sort of beats Yoda.
Yeah.
Sort of does. He shoots lightning out of his hand at one point. But that's another thing I should mention though. The Force lightning's kind of useless because it doesn't really kill the Jedi in these movies.
Not really. Because it mostly stuns them.
The Emperor uses it against Luke, and it doesn't really kill him, even though he's shocking him for 2 full minutes or something.
And then
I don't know if he's holding back or what, but it's just
and then Yoda has that one ability that I haven't seen used anywhere else in the series, where he just kind of absorbs it into a ball and shoots it back at him.
Yeah,
that's
a very cool part.
That's actually on the cover right there.
Much to learn, you still have Dooku.
I thought Yoda fighting was
Dooku's a weird name though. I love the Yoda fight. I know a lot of people have issues with it. I don't care. I love that scene. It is ridiculous, but I love it. He's just jumping around and fighting. He's fighting Christopher Lee, who's and Count Dooku obviously is a reference to Count Dracula.
Yeah.
You know. What I like about this film, this movie has so many great action scenes in it. I like the action scenes, even if there is a bit too much CGI.
Yeah.
They're very entertaining. You know, whenever the action scenes show up, it's very entertaining.
My absolute favorite part of the film is
I think, you know what,
the gladiator fight.
I do prefer this over Phantom Menace, I would say.
The gladiator fight, when all of a sudden the dropships come with a
lot
of Jedi and clones.
That's another thing. As a kid, that is the most epic thing ever. Because you got hundreds of Jedi just fighting droids, you know. Jango Fett's a cool character.
He was pretty cool.
You know, and Tamora Morrison, I think, is pretty good in this, even if he doesn't get a ton of screen time.
Yeah.
And I love the fight on Kamino, where he's fighting Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan just kicks him off the platform.
And then as he's falling, he grapple hooks Obi-Wan and pulls him down.
I still don't understand why this is your least favorite, but at the same time, it's so entertaining. It's so entertaining, even if it's ridiculous. And the Kamino, I love, of the prequels, I think this has some of the best planets. I like the planets.
It does have interesting planets.
I like Kamino, you know, with the water and stuff, and that's some of the best CGI in the movie, I think. At least the outside of it.
Yeah.
When they're walking through hallways, it looks very cartoony. And, you know, he's, hunting after this bounty hunter. It has a cool opening, too, I think, where they're chasing that bounty hunter through the...
Yeah. And
it looks sort of like the Fifth Element. They're on this speeder.
Exactly.
You know? It looks so much like the Fifth Element. Have you seen the Fifth Element?
Yes, I have.
It's right there, too. It's right there.
It's so weird. It's like a weird... I don't know how to describe it.
It's Coruscant, right?
Yeah,
but it's so neon and it looks sort of like Vegas a bit. With all these signs and stuff. And it's a very entertaining scene, too. I especially like the part where they're in that bar. Hunting after her, you know. And you got...
You got Mr. Death Sticks.
Oh, yeah. Want to buy some death sticks?
You don't want to sell me death sticks.
I don't want to sell you death sticks.
You want to go home and rethink your life.
I want to go home and rethink my life. I think this actually, it's a kind of a minor point, but I actually think Ewan McGregor has his best hairstyle of the series in this one.
The Jedi mullet.
I just love that mullet, yeah. Every scene with Ewan McGregor, I just enjoy, you know.
He's very
He actually makes the expository stuff bearable, I think, you know. And I do like the banter between him and Hayden Christensen.
It's pretty funny.
You know? I love that one part at the end when Obi-Wan's captured in that arena and Anakin shows up. He's also been captured. He was saying, I was thinking that you hadn't received my message. I retransmitted the message as you wished, my master. Then we decided to come and rescue you. And then he just looks up at his chains.
Good job.
Good job. The humor in this, I think, is a lot better than
it's
Phantom
pretty
Menace.
good.
It's a very funny movie. Both intentionally and unintentionally. Yeah. But I think I like this more than the Phantom Menace, probably just because it moves faster for me. There's way more action scenes. The plot is more ridiculous, but
I feel like I skip more scenes, though, when I watch this than what I do with Phantom Menace. Especially any of, the Anakin and Padme romance scenes.
I also like the part during the speeder chase where Anakin he just jumps out of the speeder, lands on the ship. He just lands on the ship perfectly. He lands on her ship perfectly.
And then Obi-Wan
somehow knows exactly where it's gonna be. Like, and then Obi-Wan just looks down and says, I hate it when he does that. Which makes me think, he's done this before?
Exactly.
He's done that before, apparently. He's like a superhero or something. He just knows exactly where it is. I also love the scene with the Tusken Raiders. You know, Anakin just like, he's searching for his mother. And the scene with his mother is a very emotional scene.
That part is actually
the acting is in that scene, from both Hayden Christensen and Pernilla August, is very good. I think.
And then the scene after that kind of.
But I love the part where he just when she dies and like the music plays a bit and it switches from very soft to very, very intense, and he looks intense. His face, he looks so angry, and then he comes out of that tent or sand igloo, I guess, and just starts chopping them up. I kind of wish they'd shown more of it, but it's a great scene. Hayden Christensen gets kind of a bad rap, but when he's not saying some incredibly ridiculous lines,
he's pretty good,
and he's just acting with his face. He's fantastic, you know. Like that scene where he's at his mother's grave. That's in the theatrical version, right?
I think so.
When he says mother's grave, you know. And he's like just sitting there and just like looks very solemn. It's a very, you know. And I've seen him in other movies. He's not a bad actor, you know. He's a really good actor, but sadly he's just not the best at picking scripts, maybe. Or he just got typecast, possibly. Also, like, after he kills all the Tusken Raiders, this is a little detail I noticed, but, when it cuts to Yoda, and he's, like, sitting in the temple, like, meditating, you can actually hear Qui-Gon saying, no, Anakin, or something like that, and it's a cool little detail I like that they added in there. You know, I think it's dialogue, I think they took the dialogue from that scene in The Phantom Menace where he tells Anakin to drop when Darth Maul shows up in the desert. I think that's where they took it from. I think story-wise, this probably would have been a better starting point than The Phantom Menace, because The Phantom Menace, story-wise, when you look at the entire series, it's kind of doesn't fit in.
Yeah, it's very offset.
You know, this one feels like, okay, this should have been the beginning of the story, because also, the war is just beginning in this one, too.
I feel like this one should have been first, then there should have been like a Clone Wars movie, and then there should have been Revenge of the Sith.
They should have made a live-action version of that Clone Wars series that they did on, was it Cartoon Network?
Yeah, it was on Cartoon Network.
Yeah. I was trying to remember what they broadcast on, because that is a great show. And it would have been a great introduction to General Grievous, too. I do like the music score in this one, but again, it lifts a ton of cues from
Phantom Menace.
Probably the best of the new tracks you have here is the romantic score. Because it's a very memorable, like, musical score.
See, I think all the Star Wars have pretty good music cues, even the ones that like aren't like that great.
Yeah. Well, except for the holiday special.
Okay. We're ignoring that one ever even existed. I am in favor of George Lucas's solution to track down every copy and smash it with a hammer.
And he hasn't even seen it.
I've seen enough of it that
I've seen it. I've actually sat through it. And if you've never seen it, do yourself a favor. Don't. Please don't. I also like the music in Spaceballs, too.
Yeah.
We're going to bring that one up. Yeah. They had a song. I think they had a Van Halen song in there and also Bon Jovi. But, and the arena stuff. Can we talk about the arena stuff?
Oh,
I've been looking forward to this.
That arena is so good.
And some of it is a practical set. Obviously, the creatures are CGI, but that arena was an actual set, an actual like model, at least.
And I love it when Mace Windu first enters because he pulls out the lightsaber. He's like, "This party's over."
I love his entrance. He's just walking through that hallway. You don't see his face at first.
Yeah.
And the music playing there too. I can hear it in my head right now. It's a great.
And then of course he's the one that kills Jango Fett when he decapitates him.
A lot of people complain about that because he doesn't fly away, but I always interpret it that his jetpack was kind of busted by the rhino creature, the rhino alien. And that's another thing. Okay, I don't care if you hate this film, but the part where Obi-Wan is fighting a giant blue praying mantis-like creature is awesome.
I do love the arena stuff like that.
He's like got a spear that he's trying to get, and then eventually later he has a lightsaber. I love that shot where he's just spinning it around. The thing's coming from behind him, and there's those droids that like go, uh-oh, and they run away, and then he turns around, he chops it up with the lightsaber. And Anakin has to fight that rhino creature that's just charging around. Padme has to fight a rat, and she kicks it in the face.
Here's a good question. Why was R2 a part of the arena battle?
I don't know. A lot of people also don't like the stuff with C-3PO. Where
I kind of enjoyed that, if I'm honest. That was kind of funny.
That. I think it works better than most of the stuff with Jar Jar. You know, he's just kind of like... He gets his head switched with a droid, he's shooting him. I don't know. I enjoy that.
And then they sent out the droid with C-3PO's body.
There's so much going on in this scene. We could talk about just that scene for hours.
It would be entertaining if the whole movie was that scene.
I also like the part at the end where all the Jedi are like... there's a bunch of dead Jedi and droids and debris and stuff. And there's the Jedi, the few that are left, are surrounded by all the droids. And then Count Dooku, like, tries to, like, reason with Mace Windu.
Yeah.
Mace Windu doesn't want to surrender. Then he says, "I'm sorry, old friend." I kind of wish they'd explored a little more of Count Dooku.
And his relationship
with the Jedi Order, yeah. That would have been really cool. The cinematography in this one's great, too. There's a ton of great shots.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I especially like the shot where Anakin's talking to the Jawas. You know, that's a very good shot. When he's searching for his mother, that's a really cool shot there. And there's like one shot that feels sort of like a video game load screen where it shows the outside of Kamino. There's like a giant flying manta ray or something.
I was actually thinking of the scene where Anakin's riding out on the speeder bike searching for his mother.
That actually had to do with the plot, though.
Yeah, true.
the shot of that manta ray in the outside of Kamino, that has nothing to do with the plot. They could have just cut that out of the film, and it wouldn't have mattered much. But it's a cool shot, I think. And the music at Kamino too is very memorable.
It is
very memorable music. Jango Fett, I like that they showed Jango Fett in this, because Boba Fett didn't really get as much to do in the originals. I like the Jango Fett's actually getting in fights and stuff. He actually, he even kills a Jedi at one point. And that fight with Obi-Wan I mentioned earlier is great. Also, I wrote, Obi-Wan in a nightclub. Is that an Indiana Jones reference?
Oh, yeah, because there was Club Obi-Wan.
Temple of Doom, the Club Obi-Wan. The scene in the droid factory, a lot of people complain about that scene, but I honestly enjoy that scene.
I feel like it goes on for a little too long.
I don't know. I like all the parts moving around and stuff, and they're trying to dodge it, you know. I especially like the stuff with, Padme's trying to, escape through it, and then she ends up getting in this, bucket that's pouring... What is it?
Like liquid metal.
It looks like, something like that. And then R2-D2 saves her from it, which... I don't understand why they had R2-D2 flying, but I don't know. I love R2-D2, so I don't really care. he always saves the day.
Yeah.
So that's fine with me. And he almost kills C-3PO by knocking him off the ledge.
Wait, when he gets knocked off the ledge, isn't that when he also, his head comes off and they put it on a...
Yes, Yeah. With the some of the arena battle, I've heard it's kind of inspired a bit by Ray Harryhausen.
Really?
Sort of like something like Jason and the Argonauts. It kind of does feel like that, because they're fighting these monsters. Because at first they don't have lightsabers. I kind of like the stuff where they don't have lightsabers.
And they have to improvise.
They have to improvise a bit, I think it would have been hilarious if Obi-Wan just started punching that thing in the face. Why didn't he... But they didn't use the Force or anything, so I don't know. There's also, I mentioned, there's tons of great lines, like, blast, this is why I hate flying. Which that dogfight with Jango Fett, I have to mention that scene, where they're, in the ships, they're flying.
Oh, yeah, and there's, the seismic charges that he sets off.
That sound is so cool, too. And the way Obi-Wan escapes is pretty clever, too. He exhumes, some of the junk stuff from the ship, and like Jango Fett's like has like a tracking missile and it hits that stuff and then he goes to hide. That was actually a pretty clever tactic on his part. I know some people kind of compared it to the scene Empire Strikes Back,
where they just drift out with the garbage. Yeah,
it kind of is like that, but I think I still think it's a cool scene. Yeah. I wonder if one of those asteroids was a potato or a shoe. And there's also great lines like "This party's over," or "I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating.
It's everywhere."
I think that's the good transition to the negatives. Okay.
I think that might be one of the worst lines in this entire series is the sand line.
Is it any worse than that space is cold line that I mentioned?
That one's pretty bad, but I still think the sand line is worse.
I think that, yeah. Now the romantic stuff I think is terrible.
Yeah, it's horrible.
I think it's terrible. But the thing with this movie though is, for me, the bad stuff almost makes it better because I laugh so hard at it that it makes it incredibly entertaining.
At the point where it's the part where they're in like the field after getting run over by the bison discussing democracy.
I understand what George Lucas was going for with some of the dialogue, but it's so heavy-handed and so like just it's less subtle than like a hammer hitting you in the face. Like it's just
And then Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman, they don't really have the best chemistry.
They don't have chemistry. That's the problem. Like
they just feel awkward.
Except for the picnic scene. I think they had good chemistry there. But then there's that scene where he's like saying, "I'm haunted by the kiss you should not have given me," which feels like something out of a soap opera. Yeah. And it's just terrible. Granted, I think the sets are great. I think the costumes are good. I like the backgrounds they're in, especially the one with waterfalls and stuff. I do like the scene where they're like having a picnic, and they're like talking about like Anakin starts like advocating for a dictatorship.
Exactly, like what?
And I love
that part so much.
You're making fun of me, aren't you? No. I'm too embarrassed to make fun of a senator. And I thought that's the only scene where I felt they actually had genuine chemistry, because the rest of it's just awful.
And then there's the line that Anakin has after he goes and kills the sand people.
Oh, that scene.
I hate them. I killed them, not just the men, but the women and the children too.
I understand what he was going for, but it's so poorly handled. It's so bad.
So awful.
I will even stop people from dying. They needed a script revision, because this was written. This one actually, this is the only one of the prequels that was written. At least it was credited to George Lucas and someone else.
Really?
It was written by George Lucas and Jonathan Hales, who wrote some episodes of Young Indiana Jones, if I remember right. It doesn't show though.
No.
That two people worked on this, because it is so like the dialogue is. It's awful, but at the same time, it makes it great, because I end up laughing at how cheesy some of it is. But my main issues with it are it's the longest of the prequels, for one thing. Although, honestly, Phantom Menace feels a little longer. But at the same time, though, this feels like multiple movies going on at once, just because of the different plot lines, because you have Anakin... You have the assassination plot at the beginning, then you have the investigation on the water planet.
Then you have the romance plot, then you have the Tatooine plot.
There's so much going on in this, which is part of why I like it more than the Phantom Menace. Because the Phantom Menace, like I mentioned earlier, it feels like one movie. Yeah. But whereas this one, I think it works better because even though it's a bit inconsistent, I like how it cuts back and forth between these different scenes. So if you don't like one plot line, you can cut back to a different one that's more interesting.
I also feel like this one's a little oddly paced, because it's pretty quick at the beginning with the whole assassination part.
Very quick.
And then it slows way down during all the investigation stuff, and then it just ramps right back up at the end.
I like the investigation stuff, though. That's the thing. I think that's what... Because I think it could have been... shortened a little bit, but honestly, I like the investigation stuff. That's some of my favorite stuff from the movie.
It was interesting. I just feel like it was oddly
I like the
paced.
design of, like, even... I do think the actual plot of it, though, is a bit ridiculous, where they cloned all the troopers and stuff.
Yeah.
But I do like the stuff where they show the factory, and they show, like, all the, like...
Yeah.
clones being formed and stuff. You know, I think that's really cool. And the shots where you see the clone troopers, I think, are very cool.
Yeah.
And I like the part where, you know, where the clone troopers finally show up and kill all the droids and stuff. Although for me, like, I prefer the first part of that battle more than the second part, you know, with all the Jedi and stuff. I also feel like Yoda is kind of, like, I love Yoda, but at the same time, in this one, he kind of just becomes a state the obvious kind of character.
And even that, he really doesn't do much until he arrives with the clones and then fights Count Dooku.
He just, like, people, like, come to ask him for advice, and then he just says, go do what you were going to do anyway.
Exactly.
Especially with Obi-Wan. Like, it's just... And the plot with the clones and stuff, just, it's ridiculous, I think. But the thing is, my problems with this, though, like I said, they kind of make it better, because it adds a bit more entertainment value. Because if I look at it from, like, how well written it was, I think this is the worst of the prequels.
Yeah.
I think. So I would say I do like this. I would say I do like this more than the Phantom Menace, probably, overall, in terms of entertainment value. Even though the Phantom Menace has some of my favorite scenes from the series, but as a whole, I think I enjoy this one more than that one. But I will agree, the romantic subplot's terrible.
It's absolutely
Anakin kind of comes across as this whiny creep.
Yeah.
And the dialogue during those scenes.
Now, I have this weird thing with this movie in particular. There's the scene where Anakin and Padme are eating.
Oh, sorry.
And, you know, he does the thing with the pear and the
CGI
knife.
CGI pear, yeah, that's CGI.
That always reminds me of when I was a kid. I went to Fairway once, and they had this ad for, like, Lay's potato chips that they were playing. And it was that.
Except he was using the force on potato chips.
Yeah, to lift up the potato chips and eat it. That's always what that scene makes me think of.
And then I was thinking, because I read the script for the original script before they rewrote it, of Empire Strikes Back, and Luke uses the force to move fruit into, like, a basket at one point. And it made me think of the scene in this film. Also, why is Jar Jar involved in the politics?
That's a good question. I mean, I guess the Gungans needed a representative, but...
Why did it have to be Jar Jar?
Exactly.
Because he was the general?
I guess.
And Padme, like... Does she know Jar Jar is a bit clumsy and, like... It's probably very bizarre. Easily manipulated by Sidious, too?
It's just bizarre.
Yeah. One thing I do kind of like, though, is that the Jedi are a bit reluctant to go to war.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're trying to keep peace in the galaxy. You know, they're trying to keep peace in the Republic. But then they, like, realize, you know, this thing is, like, you know, there's a huge crisis and we need to somehow solve it. Because the first film, most of it... There's obviously political corruption, but there isn't much war going on, at least not until the end, which is part of why I like Phantom Menace, because it shows the galaxy, it shows the Republic before war happened. Whereas in this one, the war finally starts. And I like that a line at the end where Obi-Wan says, if the clone troopers hadn't shown up, then we probably wouldn't have won the battle. And then Yoda says, we didn't win. The Clone War has begun.
Yeah.
I think that's a great line to end on, too. It's a flawed film. It is a very flawed film. It's by no means my favorite, but I think it's entertaining. I can't help myself. It's entertaining, you know. I found myself smiling through most of it, if not just because of how cheesy some of it is.
There are some of the lines that make me laugh, like the sand line.
The sand line is hilarious.
The people were
I think part of it is because of the memes that make fun of it.
Oh, yeah. I absolutely love prequel memes. They're so funny.
I do prefer it over the Phantom Menace, I would say. You know, I do find it more entertaining than the Phantom Menace. I don't think it's the best of the prequels, which by default we know.
Yeah.
Because the next one, oh yeah, you're not gonna believe this.
Where do you keep getting these scripts?
Episode 2. Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Screenplay by George Lucas and Jonathan Hales. Directed by George Lucas. This is the third draft. The differences in the script, most of it's just line alterations that don't really affect the overall story or, honestly, the quality of the dialogue, I don't think. There's like one part though where when Anakin says Jedi business, go back to your drinks when they capture what's her name in
the bounty hunter
club. But instead of Jedi business, go back to your drinks, they say official business, go back to your drinks, which doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. There's a line where Anakin says, I think we're still alive during the speeder chase at the beginning. There's also more swearing in the script than in the finished movie. Mostly from Anakin. Mostly towards the beginning.
Yeah.
Apparently the guy that tries selling Obi-Wan death sticks is called Ilan Sleaze Pagano. Which I think is hilarious. Jango Fett is referred to... When you first see him in the script, he's referred to as an armored rocket man. And I think
that's
it's
an interesting way to describe it.
A long, long time, to quote the Elton John song. Rocket. That would have been hilarious if somebody hasn't done this. Please do this. Please make a video tribute to Boba Fett and Jango Fett with the song
like Rocket Man
play. You know, maybe I'll make it. If somebody else hasn't, I'll make it. Also, there's some dialogue where Count Dooku talks about being a capitalist. Taxes, tariffs, and trade. Weird. And I was thinking, like, okay, I mean, the first one's pretty political, but come on.
Yeah.
Really? They don't have the word capitalist in a galaxy far, far away. And most of the deleted scenes, I think this might have some of the deleted scenes in the extras. Yeah, they might be there. I've seen some of the deleted scenes. All of the deleted scenes that I've seen were in the script that I have there. Okay, let's get to the next one.
Good.
Revenge of the Sith, which is the third of the prequels, was released May 19th, 2005. This actually, I didn't see this one until later.
Yeah, I didn't see it until...
The other prequels I saw at a younger age, so this was like the last of the first 6 Star Wars films that I ended up seeing. Mostly because it was PG-13. I wasn't allowed to see very many PG-13 movies as a kid. So I was like 8 when I first saw this.
I remember not seeing this for a while, but I do remember there being a lot of hype built up around it. And I do remember that part.
I remember one of my friends, because this came out when I was like 6. One of my friends, I had recess and we would like pretend to be playing Star Wars, doing lightsaber duels.
Yeah.
And at one point we were on this like hill. He was reenacting part of the final duel from this movie, and I was like,
"It's over, Anakin. I have the high ground."
He didn't say that. He was just saying, "You were my brother, Anakin." And I was like, going, which of the movies was that in? I was confused. And then years later, I'm going through like Walmart or something with my parents, and they're showing it on the TV.
Really?
And I'm like, holy crap! That's the Star Wars film I haven't seen. And they took me away because it was almost to the part where he gets burned up by the lava.
Yeah.
So I didn't see it until I was like 8 or 9, but when I saw it, I loved it.
I think it is...
It ended up becoming one of my favorites of the series when I saw it.
Yeah.
And I would say, obviously, I mean, we already hinted at it, but this is my favorite of the prequels. This is
Same here.
It's your favorite too. Okay, yeah.
It's actually one of my favorite Star Wars movies in general.
I would say... I don't like it as much as the original trilogy, but I do enjoy it more than all of the newer films.
I think I enjoyed this more than Episode 6, even.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. I like... Because for me it goes Empire, Return of the Jedi, Star Wars, then this one probably. This would be fourth.
I think this one's also fourth. That's just because I loved Solo so much that I put that one at third.
We'll get to that later, but we'll rank them all once we're done probably. But this is my favorite of the prequels, I would say. But another thing was, what's funny is because as a kid I watched the Clone Wars Cartoon Network show, and I was wondering, when is General Grievous going to show up in one of these? Because I remember watching the Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones again. I was like thinking, where's General Grievous?
And then he shows up in this one.
And then finally he's in this one. I'm like, I remember being so excited because finally I get to see Anakin through the dark side. I get to see General Grievous. The Emperor finally shows up. Yeah.
Oh, what a fantastic...
Obi-Wan has short hair again. I mean...
And then Anakin's got the mullet instead in this one.
You know, I take it back. I think this is my favorite Ewan McGregor performance of the prequels, now that I think about it.
He is fantastic in this
movie. He is so funny in this. You know, he gets so many one-liners. Great lines. Yeah, but, you know, not to worry. We're still flying half a ship.
Don't forget, hello there.
Or, so uncivilized. You know, just like, oh, he's so great. But the reason why I didn't see it, you know, because this is the darkest of the prequels.
It's very dark.
And... You know, when I was rewatching these, I decided I actually watched them in reverse order because this movie ends on such a downer.
It is.
That I decided to watch Revenge of the Sith first, then rewatch Attack of the Clones. You know.
Yeah.
Although I did rewatch them multiple times, the first 6 anyway. I rewatched multiple times. Because we were gonna film these back in April. And then for some reason, I just couldn't stop thinking about Star Wars, so I decided, I'll rewatch them again, just because why not?
Yeah.
You know. Except the problem with that is I was trying to have a marathon, so I'd be trying to go to bed, and I'd be like, no, I need to watch Return of the Jedi. I need to watch Return of the Jedi, so I'm up until, 2 watching Return of the Jedi. And, I've never watched these in chronological order, by the way. I watched these, I watched the original trilogy, then I watched the prequels. That's the order I watched them in when I rewatched them, and then eventually the other ones. But yeah, I think overall this is the best of the prequels.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
It has the most interesting plot. It has the best emotional moments. It has a great score too. I think it's a great score, very bombastic, very powerful score. I think the acting overall is better than the previous 2, although I kind of wish Liam Neeson was in this.
Yeah.
I actually think Hayden Christensen is very good in this.
Oh, yeah. Especially once he turns to the dark side.
Oh, yeah.
Physical acting.
Just the scene where he's killing people.
He looks intense.
He looks so angry and just evil, and it's just great. The dialogue is ridiculous, but it's a very, he's pretty intimidating when you just see his face. And his eyes turn yellow at one point.
There's also a lot of really great fight scenes throughout this one.
Yeah. I like the stuff with, I think the beginning's great. You know, you got...
It's a fun intro.
It's a fun intro. It's a very entertaining intro, you know. You got Obi-Wan and Anakin on the ship. You know, they encounter Count Dooku.
Yeah.
You know, twice the pride, double
the fall.
You know. Christopher Lee, of course, you know, he adds class to everything he's in, you know, and he gets some great lines, you know. You have hate, you have anger,
but you
don't
use
use
them.
it. Yeah, and then I think my problem with the fights in Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, though, the lightsaber duels, is some of them don't last very long.
No.
They're kind of short. You know, it's mostly the ship battles that I remember Attack the Clones for, to be honest.
See, in this one, I wish the Grievous lightsaber battle would have lasted longer.
Definitely,
because because it just turns into a chase scene, and I wish it would have been more of the 4 lightsabers.
I really wish that fight with Grievous lasted longer, because that was Because Grievous is a very interesting character. As a kid, he was one of my favorite Star Wars characters, just because I like the concept of this cyborg.
Exactly.
He's a bit
four arms.
He's damaged inside. He has 4 arms and
he
4 lightsabers.
He can kill Jedi.
He steals lightsabers from Jedi, and they sort of hint at that at the beginning.
Yeah.
There's a deleted scene where he kills a Jedi at the beginning of the movie. He stabs her through with like a lightsaber, and it's pretty great. I love the part though where Obi-Wan like shows up at the landing platform. There's that one guy that says he's keeping us prisoner. Or something.
Yeah.
He's like keeping us captive, and so he like says that, and so he like goes to the. He's trying to be a bit sneaky, but he's riding around on this really, really
like
loud
big iguana,
like
basically.
Iguana, yes. I love the iguana though. Like, I wish there was a bit more of that because it's hilarious seeing him just riding around on this thing. I especially wish that bike chase had been a bit longer.
Yeah.
Because Grievous has a really cool bike that like
it was like a circle and it has like blades on the end.
It's like a very, very violent hamster wheel that he just rolls around. And Obi-Wan's riding around on this lizard, just trying to get him. And this would have made a great video game, I think. Some of it kind of looks like a video game, too, like Wing Commander. The actors standing around in the green screen. But, I like the part where Obi-Wan, like, he encounters Grievous for the second time. He just jumps down, says, hello there. And then Grievous is like, General Kenobi. You truly are a bold one. He's just... I don't know whether that makes him look like an idiot or makes him look even cooler, because he's just surrounded by droids, and there's no way he could possibly get out of it.
The best part is when he drops it, there's like a delay before he says hello there, and you just see the smile come on his face.
Yeah.
It's so great.
It's like he's talking to an old friend. It's fantastic.
To me, the best scenes in this film is anything that Palpatine is in. I love Palpatine's performance.
Ian McDiarmid is a fantastic actor. But at the same time, I just watch this and I'm so frustrated because he's so easily manipulating him, and I'm just thinking, oh my gosh, Anakin, don't do it. It's like, don't join him. You're not.
I like how he basically.
I basically feel like Padme does when she encounters him again, and she's like, "You're going down a path I can't follow." That's why I can't watch this, without watching another more happy movie afterwards, because that ending is such a downer.
Also, I like...
Everybody dies.
I like how Palpatine has to basically tell Anakin twice that he's a Sith. Because there's that opera scene where he tells, the old, the Sith legend, and Anakin doesn't pick up on it.
It's kind of ridiculous, I think. I do think this has the best chemistry between Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor, because they actually feel more like friends in this one. In the second one,
it definitely felt more of like a master
They
apprentice.
argue a bit, and you can definitely tell he's still learning. With this one, you can tell he's come a lot further. He's more, he's more well trained. He's more.
Yeah, exactly.
He ends up kind of besting Obi-Wan a little bit at the beginning by killing Count Dooku and saving him, And you can definitely tell they did have a good friendship there, They were friends, and it makes... I think my favorite scene is probably the end where Ewan McGregor is Obi-Wan is he's basically he's defeated his former Padawan, and he's just standing there going, "You are the chosen one."
Yeah, that part is fantastic.
And then there's one part where he says, "You are my brother. I loved you," and I just, oh my gosh, it makes you teary-eyed.
Yeah.
Oh man, very powerful moment, and the music score makes it even better. It's probably I would say the second best music score of the prequel, probably behind Phantom Menace. Because the Phantom Menace music is more entertaining, but the music score in this is a lot more emotional, more heavy, and it works very, very well, I think. And the action scenes, some of them I do think are a bit short. I wish the Grievous stuff was a bit longer.
Yeah.
Grievous,
Grievous is a cool character.
If you watch the Cartoon Network stuff and then watch this film, you kind of wish Grievous would do more what Grievous does, using multiple lightsabers, killing multiple Jedi, He gets Obi-Wan kind of beats him a bit quickly, he cuts off his arms a bit quick, I think.
Yeah.
I do like this stuff, though, where he pulls open his chest and
you see his, whole death scene is gruesome, actually.
A very gruesome
you see his innards, and then he just blasts him, and then everything catches on fire. He's shooting fire out of his eyes. It's gruesome, actually.
Grievous is such an interesting character. I wish they'd done a little more with him. You mentioned Ian McDiarmid, who is fantastic in this film.
I love his performance.
You both love him and hate him at the same time.
He is such a good, over-the-top dramatic villain.
I think there are a few parts where he overdoes it, but he is very entertaining to watch. Every time he's on screen, part of it, is his acting.
Oh, yeah.
Because honestly, some of the dialogue, unlimited power.
My little green friend.
Oh, the fight with Yoda. We forgot to mention that.
He's just ripping out the seats from the Senate chamber and just
throwing them at Yoda.
Yeah, it's so great. Funny.
I also like the part where Yoda enters and just he used the Force to push his guards against the wall, knocks them out. It's great. But again, Yoda kind of becomes a state the obvious kind of character. Yeah. It's just misread the prophecy we have. It's just. I like the design of Mustafar too.
Yeah.
They used a lot of. A lot of it is digital, but they added in some actual footage of volcanoes that they had filmed, and it looks really cool, I think,
Mustafar is a pretty neat planet.
And the duel there is pretty cool, too. It's a very epic duel. And the music score in that scene also great.
One part that's kind of interesting, because we've never seen anything else really like it in the rest of the series, except for maybe at one point in the sequels, when Obi-Wan and Anakin are fighting, they both do the Force push on each other. And they hold it there and then they both fly back.
That's a cool
That
part.
was awesome.
That was really cool, yeah. I guess I think the closest you got maybe was Yoda in Attack of the Clones.
Maybe, yeah.
Of the prequels, though, this easily is the best in terms of the dramatic moments. Because, let's be honest, nobody watches Attack of the Clones for the dramatic moments. No. I don't watch it for the dramatic moments. I watch it because there's a ton of fun action in it.
Exactly.
This one has some very heavy themes and stuff in it, and handles it pretty well, I think, honestly. Some of it might be a bit ham-fisted and over the top, but I think that kind of adds to it because it makes it feel a bit more theatrical. Like you're watching sort of a play or something. I wouldn't call it Shakespeare exactly, but just it sort of has that feel of an epic story, not dialogue wise, but plot wise. I think this also is probably the funniest of the prequels.
By far.
I like the banter between Anakin
and Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan, and the Grievous too, Try not to upset him, Anakin.
General Grievous, you're shorter than I expected.
I really like the opening battle too, where they're in the ships.
Yeah, that's also a fun intro.
Yeah.
All of these have pretty good intros.
They have good intro. The prequels they have great introductions. Except Attack of the Clones, I think. I don't really like the part where the ship lands and it blows up. It just
that part's a bit odd.
The way it's edited, just if they'd started maybe with the speeder chase, it probably would be better. But I don't know. I think Phantom Menace is a great introduction. I think this has a very good introduction.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very entertaining, way to start off the movie. And R2D2 just is awesome. You know, he kills some like droids by spraying oil on them and like lights them on fire.
He's very entertaining in this one.
He's very funny too.
Something interesting, they gave C-3PO
like
role in this.
I like the elevator. They don't really.
He shows up on the platform in like the middle.
There's like maybe one line.
Yeah.
To Padme.
Yeah, and then at the end he says,
yeah.
"Oh no!" When they're like, "We need to wipe the droid's memory."
Chewbacca, on the other hand, gets more.
He does.
You get to see. I like that you get to see Kashyyyk. You get to see the Wookiee planet. I think some of the effects are a bit dated, but I like the look of it. They did kind of base it a bit on, because the holiday special has the Wookiees, Wookiees in it, and they based the treetop hideouts on it. But it's a lot cooler because you get a battle scene in there.
Yeah.
You get like droids fighting Wookiees. You know, they're swinging on vines and stuff and landing on the ships.
And eventually the clones turn, and then they have to fight the Wookiees too.
Yeah. I think actually, the Order 66 scene I think is very, very well handled.
It is.
The music's perfect. Oh my gosh, a very, very dramatic scene. It's a very depressing ending, you know, because the first 2/3 of it are very, very entertaining, very funny, but then like that last third,
it
just
gets
like,
depressing.
Oh my gosh, you know, the stuff on Mustafar. I think the dialogue when like Anakin meets Padme again though is kind of ridiculous.
It's still kind of cheesy.
Natalie Portman, like, you could tell between this and Phantom Menace, like, she's really grown as an actress.
Yeah.
You know, she like looks devastated when she meets Anakin.
She does.
She's like crying and just, you know. I think there's like one romantic scene in there that's just so bad though. Like it's only because I'm so in love or something.
Yeah,
it's just so bad.
Cheesy and weird.
Part of my Palpatine I think is a great villain, but he's so ridiculous.
That's what I love about him though. His over the top nature.
His delivery is just do it. You know,
do it.
I am the Senate. He just overemphasizes these words in such a weird way.
And in that scene too, he jumps out. He activates the lightsaber, and then he jumps out of the chair. Does like several flips, lands, and just slashes.
It's very funny. Yes. I think of the prequels, this has actually, I think, some of the CGI, like, this one,
this one,
there's a lot, the worst offenders are when they're walking through the hallways and there's, like, very obvious CGI backgrounds that didn't age well. And some of the character choices in this, like, just... I like the part where Mace Windu encounters Palpatine again, though, in that fight scene they have.
That is a great fight scene.
I wish that maybe Mace was, like, shouting at him more, you know, because he's played by Samuel L. Jackson. But a lot of people have a problem, because some people think, like, Anakin's shift to the dark side was a bit too abrupt. And I can...
I can see where they're coming from.
But at the same time, there are hints of it in the previous film and even early on.
There is build up to it.
There's more build up to it than I think.
And the thing that finally drove him there is when he, killed Mace Windu by cutting off his hands and throwing him out the window. Or I guess Palpatine shocked him out the window.
And he says unlimited power. I wish they'd done a little more with Grievous, because he's a very interesting character. Maybe they should have included him in Attack of the Clones instead, but I don't know. It's a cool design, though. It's like a
very cool
design. And that's actually some of the best CGI of the movie. The Grievous stuff.
There's like a documentary on this where they talk about the inspiration for Grievous as a design. There's someone that had a spray bottle that they were looking at, and they tilted it at like just this right angle, and it looked like this kind of like long robotic face, and that's what they used for the basis of his head.
Also, there's one line he says as a kid at the beginning, when he tells his guards to like attack Anakin and Obi-Wan, he like says make them suffer, but I always thought as a kid that he said make them supper. So I thought like,
soup bots.
Not like make them supper as in give them supper, but like cannibalism or something. Or maybe not cannibalism.
That's pretty good.
Maybe not cannibalism, since Grievous is a different species of alien.
That's pretty good though.
But despite its faults, I think it's a very entertaining film.
It's a fun film to watch until the end.
The ending is such a downer though, but like another thing I wish they'd done more with is Yoda mentions to Obi-Wan that he's able to contact Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
And I wish they'd shown more of that, because there is an unfinished deleted scene where Yoda is talking to Qui-Gon, where they set it up a bit, but they didn't get Liam Neeson back. They had some, like, they didn't have him, like, in there, you know.
So I would have liked to see Force Ghost Qui-Gon.
I would too, yeah. I mean, you built... Because they mention him in Attack of the Clones, and they mention him in this one, so I kind of wish you'd shown more of him, maybe. Also, apparently, they were gonna have, like, a young Han Solo in this.
I think I heard about that.
But I think they scrapped it. I mean, Chewbacca's in it, you know. And it is Peter Mayhew, so...
Alright, so in the next one, it will be talking about the 2 sequel films and the 2, what would they be, like, spin-off side films, yeah. Yep. So, we will see you in that one.